What makes a person interesting? What makes them distinguishable? Is it how they dress? How they act? What is it about them? It's always something different for different people. In the case of Spring Arbor's own Dr. Richard Cornell, it was his accent. And I wanted to find out more. What made his accent so interesting? And what is an accent? I'm no expert, so I decided to go straight to the primary source and ask Dr. Richard Cornell about his accent and how did it come to be.
My name is Rich Cornell. I'm in my 14th year at Spring Arbor University. I'm in the Department of Theology. I'm kind of the New Testament guy, so my background and expertise is primarily in New Testament studies, but I teach New Testament and Old. I also teach ethics.
Now, to understand the accents of a person, you have to go back to where they grew up and where they've resided to understand how people speak in those areas and how that may have influenced how they speak now.
Born in Huntington, West Virginia, grew up in Southern Ohio. During my high school years, my family would vacation a bit in North Carolina. And eventually we bought some property in a town called Little Switzerland. It's 4,000 feet on the Blue Ridge Parkway. So I think some of my accent, it's a mix between my West Virginia, Southern Ohio roots, but also sort of North Carolinian hick. I went to undergraduate at Ohio University in Athens, Ohio, and then went to seminary in Kentucky, Asbury Theological Seminary in Wilmore, Kentucky. And then my PhD took us to Scotland, University of Aberdeen in Scotland.
So now I understood where Dr. Cornell came from and where he had lived, but I still didn't understand what an accent exactly was. So I decided to seek a professional on campus, Professor Marissa Carpenter, and I asked her about accents.
My teaching fields, I teach Spanish linguistics, I teach Spanish language in general, and literature. Also teaching English as a second language. So accents are basically defined as the way a person pronounces a language that's peculiar to just the individual, peculiar to a group. Could be like a group of friends. It's very broad. It could be a whole country, just a part of a country.
It was very helpful to get a definition of what accents were. But what about when people have a combination of different accents due to living in different places, like Dr. Cornell? What about those? How were those caused?
You have a hybrid accent if you are applying some Spanish phonological rules, but also some English ones in the same speech act. And sometimes it can be more, like multiple.
Of course, Dr. Cornell's native language is English, not Spanish. So how does accents work in regards to regions that share the same language but have different dialects?
Different areas of the same country can have completely different accents because people pronounce things different ways, and it comes about in a number of different ways. I guess the main example that comes to mind is something called reduction, and this can happen to vowels or consonants or both. But the tendency is that you'll get reduction of vowels and you'll conserve the consonants more. It could be different in the South, in the West, in the East, because we spend more time together and we say certain things. Over here, they spend time together and they just divert it a different way and speak the way that they speak, while we're up here speaking the way that we speak.
Lastly, I wanted to find out from Dr. Cornell how others had described his accent to him.
When I begin classes here in Michigan, I sometimes like to say, you probably know I'm not from here, and I like to have students guess where I'm from. And typically people tend to guess, I think, even farther south. I describe myself as a pseudo-Southern. I was born in West Virginia, which is not really the South. A true Southerner would tell you that's not really the South. But students, I think they tend to guess me farther south. I think people tend to guess like Tennessee or somewhere like that is where they think that my accent comes from.